villages on the Sea of Galilee. What we know of her from the New Testament is that prior to meeting Jesus, she was a tormented woman, possessed by 7 demons. Side note, Lilith was Mary's alias in episode 1, which derives from an ancient Middle Eastern term for female demons, or wind spirits. Only Jesus was able to drive them out, and Mary of Magdala became one of his devoted followers. In a culture that viewed women as less valuable than men, Mary became a significant member of the team. 1. She was among the female disciples who traveled with Jesus and financially supported his ministry. Luke chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. 2. She was present at his crucifixion and burial. Matthew chapter 27, verses 56 through 61. 3. She was the first to witness the empty tomb. John chapter 20, verse 1. And meet the resurrected Jesus. And she got to tell the boys. John chapter 20, verses 11 through 18. Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. Mark chapter 16, verses 1 through 6. Nicodemus. Now there was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. John chapter 3, verse 1. Nicodemus was a leading Pharisee in first-century Judaism and a member of the Sanhedrin, the ruling council of the Jews. John chapter 3, verse 1. As a spiritual leader, he had influence in all areas of society since Israel's religious system determined the laws of the land politically, culturally, and socially. Pharisees were well-respected, theologically conservative believers in God and His Word, often lay people devoted to pure living and worship in the local synagogue. On the other hand, priests who were connected to the official worship practices of the Jerusalem temple were more likely to be members of the Sadducee party and were typically in league with Roman rule, which is why Quintus, the fictional Roman leader who interacts with Nicodemus in episode 1, comments on the Sadducees being the enemies of the Pharisees, Acts chapter 23, verses 1 through 10. While most of the religious leaders denied Jesus' claim to be the Son of God, Nicodemus was among the few men of influence to admit what his miracles and other worldly teaching meant. Jesus came from God. John chapter 3, verse 2. Sidebar. There were different factions within Judaism. Pharisees, scholars who interpreted the law to the masses, along with oral traditions, connected to the local synagogues, and highly respected by the common people, believed in the afterlife. Sadducees, the professional religious aristocracy connected to the temple, committed to the written law alone. They were resigned to submit to Roman rule, did not believe in the afterlife. Essenes, separatists who lived in various communes that were focused on prayer, holy living, and the future. Not directly mentioned in the New Testament. Zealots, political activists organized to rebel against Rome and against Jewish leaders who cooperated with Rome. Matthew. As Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth. Matthew chapter 9, verse 9. Matthew was also known by his Hebrew name, Levi. Mark chapter 2, verse 14, Luke chapter 5, verse 27. He collected taxes on behalf of the Roman Empire, which made him a traitor to his fellow Jews. He seemed indifferent to their suffering, as well as to the demise of his relationships and his reputation. Matthew's collection booth was located in the Galilean town of Capernaum, which was the birthplace of Jesus' ministry. Coming face to face with the miracle man preacher obliterated Matthew's loyalty to Rome and his apathy toward others. He subsequently became one of Jesus' disciples, author of the first book of the New Testament, and a faithful follower for the rest of his life. Matthew chapter 10, verse 3. Simon, a.k.a. Simon Peter. While walking by the Sea of Galilee, Jesus saw 2 brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Matthew chapter 4, verse 18.